I think I was 13 years old when I first saw George A. Romero's Day of the Dead. It was the usual Saturday afternoon spent at my grandmother's, and my Nana would make dinner, and my Aunt Mary would take my brother and I to the local video store to pick out a couple of R-rated horror movies. It was always fun to spend my Saturday evenings watching gory horror films, but this particular Saturday, I could not wait until the evening. I wanted to watch this movie ASAP. For some reason, Day of the Dead was something that could not wait. I remember being intrigued immediately. I mean, this was something I had never seen before, an apocalyptic zombie nightmare. My young eyes were changed forever. I mean, I couldn't take my eyes off the screen. I mean, this was brutal and disgusting, sincere and human. I sensed love. Even at that young age, I sensed that this Romero guy had a real passion for what he was trying to say. I became a fan immediately. 1985's Day of the Dead is not the best film in the series, but it's definitely my favorite. A group of scientists and military personnel are bunkered in the underground Florida mining facility as they figure out a way to survive and deal with the problem of the walking dead. It's obvious that these survivors may be the last hope for the human race, but their difference in opinion on dealing with the problem may cause them to do each other in before the zombies even get their chance. The army of militant, beer-drinking, pot-smoking Neanderthals are led by the despotic Captain Rhodes, who leads the charge with his angry demeanor and absolute rule. He is facilitating the bunker for a team of scientists who are trying to come up with a logical solution to the problem. Dr. Logan, a.k.a., of course, Dr. Frankenstein, has come up with an idea to coexist with the walkers as opposed to trying to blow them all to hell, which he feels is an impossible answer. The military does not dig this plan at all, including their fearless leader, Captain Rhodes, and infighting ensues as Romero creates tension and hysteria between the two teams. The film works because Romero relies heavily on dialogue, so you get a real sense of what these people are going through. It's so well written and visually stunning that you can throw away any feelings that you may have about the bad acting that goes on. And this is really impressive in my opinion. I mean, you can't take your eyes off Joe Pilato as he screams and yells his way through the film as the hellish Rhodes. I love Captain Rhodes. I just want to keep saying Captain Rhodes. Howard Sherman also shines as Bub, Logan's star zombie pupil who fascinates the audience with minor sympathy for the flesh-eating corpse who shows signs of his former living self. Tom Savini's effects are way ahead of its time, as he may be on the very top of his game for this one. Fans, I love this film, and I hope my fellow podcasters found some goodness in this one. I really do. And I think this once again proves that George Romero is one of the most innovative horror directors in film history. And thank you, Mr. Romero. You not only invented a genre of film, but you have inspired many, many, many others in the process. 1985's Day of the Dead, boys.
I love it. I can't tell you why I have a deep affection for this movie. I love watching it. I love the insane. I love it's like a madhouse in that cave. You know.
Really, I was just thinking before we started, to do Day of the Dead. I'm like, I can't wait to watch it again in like another month or two. I mean, I've always loved this movie, and it's not a better made.
It's inferior in so many ways.
Of course it is, but I love it. I think it's my favorite one out of the three.
Captain Rhodes, Tom.
I can't get enough. Joe Pilato, Billy.
What is? You're gonna have to explain this affection.
I love Joe
Pilato. You really there's something on a deeper level here, Tom.
No, I don't know.
You're scared of death and you love really obnoxious characters.
Here's a Max question, Tom. Was your dad a crazy military leader?
It's Tom's obsession with people who yell with like absolutely no reason to be yelling, and they just yell mindlessly for some reason. You really love that kind of stuff, right, Tom?
Well, listen,
What is it?
first and foremost, the Rhodes character is completely hysterical to me. I mean, I don't take it seriously, but I'm drawn to it. Like I can't help, like when they're all like yelling and talking amongst themselves, and he's like kind of like losing the charge of the meeting. He just yells, "I said, shut up!" And it's just like, I mean, and then there's like a dead silence.
It has a lot to do with pro wrestling, I think, too, because they're yelling a lot.
I did some digging as I try to promote the podcast and post stuff on our fan page, and there was someone who put together a wrestling match between Captain Rhodes and Superman. And I posted it on the fan page and watched all 8 minutes of this. I mean, unfortunately, Rhodes loses to Superman, and I don't know how. I don't even know how that's possible. But, maybe you're on.
Superman's not a real guy, and they let him win.
Yeah, as opposed to Captain Rhodes being a real guy.
Right. Pilato, I guess since we're on the subject of Pilato, he pretty much made a career out of this film, huh?
He doesn't do
All these
much.
guys did.
Yeah, I mean, Pilato after Day of the Dead, it's not like people were like, go, man, did you see this guy in Day of the Dead? Let's get him involved in our film. I mean, he basically doesn't work. I mean, as far as I know. I mean, I don't have the IMDb up in front of me, but I think he did some work maybe on Wise Guys, like for the television show for like an episode or two. And Tarantino, of course, put him in the Jackrabbit Slim scene as Dean Martin.
Wow.
I figured he had to pop up on Tarantino's radar at some point.
But Joe, there either was a Night of the Living Dead remake recently or the one that's being remade now. I mean, they're doing another one. Joe Pilato's in it, and get this, I think he's playing Mr. Cooper. Now, I think he might have been in the animated version, actually, doing the Mr. Cooper character. But I find that kind of fascinating. And I'm glad we're talking about Joe Pilato, guys.
I cannot keep up with Tom's reference points. Like, it's just amazing. It is a miracle to behold. Like, I consider myself pretty informed in pop culture.
No, you're awesome. No, you're awesome, man.
I can't keep up with you, man. I mean, I could probably just throw out random shit, like the guy who. Tell me something about the guy who yelled, "You're a cream puff, Johnny," in The Karate Kid.
Well, I know this. That's William Zabka, and
See, I couldn't tell you that. I have no idea.
But he was the antagonist in not only The Karate Kid, but in two other great '80s films. One being Back to School, and the other one being Just One of the Guys.
You are out of mind.
All right, the guy who played the bad nerd in Real Genius.
Bad nerd. Oh, Ken?
Yeah, Ken.
Yeah, he's in Bachelor Party. He's actually the antagonist in Bachelor Party.
Bachelor Party. Oh, he's the guy who's trying to disrupt the bachelor party.
Disrupt the wedding. Yeah.
Jesus. You should become a consultant for Rob Zombie, Tarantino Incorporated.
No, those guys are way. They're better at it than I am.
Can I just say that military guys in 80s movies like Captain Rhodes are some of the most fascinating studies of miscasting ever. Like, they always have, like, long hair and look like they came from the Bronx, And it's like, they don't look like military guys. Like, they look like guys from music videos.
I mean, but
that's because they're Romero's drinking buddies.
No, but not only that, but realistically, during a zombie apocalypse, I mean, are they really going to worry about that nonsense? I mean, they might as well let their hair down.
I guess, but they are tucking their shirt in and calling orders.
And then his crazy henchman who's got the beard and chomps the cigar and always wears sunglasses and giggles a lot.
That's right. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I did really like I thought it was going to be really cool in the beginning when they go into that deserted town. Like, it looks like a post-apocalyptic town.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to be a phenomenal film because walking into that town, when she's walking through that town and it's deserted, and then you see the
alligators
zombies
coming down the stairs.
It's a great scene. It's such a great scene, man. And then that zombie just stands in front of the camera and it's the best. I think it might be the best makeup that I've seen in the three films.
That's what I'm saying. Savini, he's definitely on top of his game.
He's off the hook on this one.
Yeah, definitely. So Joe, you're saying, so where does it lose you then? As soon as they get back.
Oh, I feel a lot about it as the other one, except just a little bit less. As Dawn of the Dead, I feel pretty much it's right around there.
It gets social commentary.
Yeah,
like the military versus science and the isolationism and Reagan's America and all that stuff.
Right. Like it's just woven so heavily into there. I don't know. It just might be a phase I'm going through, I guess. Because listen, man. I writing these scripts and stuff and trying to sell these scripts to people. I'm just overthinking things, maybe, or whatever. I just see it's just. Like you just see the script, like I could see, I'm almost reading the script as they were saying the dialogue, and I'm just analyzing it at the same time. And like a really good script, you don't become aware of it to me,
right?
But it's at the script level, I guess. Yeah. But it's a fun movie. I like it. I'm not going to get down on it, and I certainly don't want to rain on anyone's parade.
Well, Joe, he had to minimize the script because he couldn't, he couldn't gather enough funds to shoot what he really wanted. And from what I understand, he basically wanted to do like what you see in Day of the Dead and in Land of the Dead. He wanted to kind of combine those two movies where, there were people who were living in this underground facility, and you were also going to see, this kind of like fenced-in city where people were trying to just, I guess, ignore the problem and try to live these normal lives. Unfortunately, he couldn't.
Well, he went and did that with Land of the Dead, which I actually just watched too, which I thought was a little bit better. I thought it was a little bit of a better film than this one.
As someone who hasn't seen it, can you guys quickly synopsize Land of the Dead for me?
Yeah, Joe, you just saw it recently.
Yeah. There's basically a sectioned off island where a lot of people, it's an island, but it's a city on an island.
Okay.
And there's rich people who live in a tower, and there's zombies outside of the island, and they have like renegade or patrols that go out into the outer boroughs and go get supplies for the city. Mm-hmm. And
that's pretty funny.
So then there becomes like the people, the zombies start breaching security, I guess, and then there's infighting among the soldiers who are going out and getting the supplies. And one of the soldiers wants into the tower because he wants to live up in the high tower. And Hopper gives a fantastic performance as, the man running the show, the Wizard of Oz up there. And
George Bush.
So, again, that social criticism is about...
Romero definitely said, Night of the Living Dead was the 60s, Dawn was the 70s, Day was the 80s, and Land, even though it was made in the 2000s, he said it was very much about the 90s. And he specifically said it's about ignoring the problems.
Huh.
Ignoring the problems, and just like this hyper activity to climb the social status. So
while civilization is falling down around your ears.
Right. Yeah. Right. To covet this way of life, but and he obviously wasn't able to do it here. But it was funny because in that movie, I know we're not supposed to be talking about Land here, but it was funny because in that movie they take the zombie thing where they slowly become humanized over the course of the 6 films that he makes, and at the end of Land they actually are more human than the humans.
They behave with more civility.
Right, which starts. He starts that vision in Day of the Dead.
Bub.
With the
which Bub is actually my favorite part of this.
Bub is such a great character. He stands out he's Frankenstein. Essentially, like what Romero was doing in this movie is he was transplanting the Frankenstein myth into his zombie mythology, and even to the point of explicitly, hey, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, elbow in the ribs, everyone, we're calling him Dr. Frankenstein.
Right.
But it's true. I mean, he definitely transplanted that.
I think what's really cool about Day of the Dead is that, he casts an actor to portray, a zombie that has kind of like, like character development,
human range of
it's
emotion.
very interesting. And and this guy Howard Sherman, I mean, had to come in every day and just find interesting things to do with basically a lifeless character. And he, to me, I think it's really interesting and it's worth talking about. Max, I mean, you're an actor. I mean, I'm sure you would drool over a role like that. God damn it, Max!
Gosh, I feel terrible, Tom. You're so passionate and you have such love for this film. This is far and away my least favorite of all George A. Romero zombie films.
Right in the nutsack.
Bub is the only thing that kept me going with this, and I remember not liking this one back in the day. I cannot stand the soldiers. They make me crazy. It is so verbose. It is so overwritten, and frankly, I'm so sorry, it's boring. Nothing happens in this movie. And the fact that it's coming off, I mean, Aliens was just fucking made, and then you've got those archetypes, the strong-willed chick who's trying to bond with a bunch of Marine dudes. It's like, sorry, you lost this battle on this one. It's preposterous, those military dudes. I hate the guy chomping on the cigar with the beard so much. He's so obnoxious. All I want is to see all of those people die. I felt nothing. The doctor, okay, I mean,
That's the whole point, though.
Yeah, but it just doesn't reach me, man. It just doesn't, like, I feel nothing. I'm just waiting it out. I'm like, when's Bub coming back? Because he's so special. And the actor playing Bub, my God, what the hell's his name? I wrote it down.
Howard Sherman.
Oh, what an extraordinary performance by him. I mean, seriously, just the pathos and the kid-like qualities and, the Frankenstein's monster qualities. This one just, this didn't do it for me.
Yeah.
Wow, it's amazing. I mean, Billy, I mean, do you find it, I mean, I like the scenes when they're like sitting around just like talking and about what their problems are.
Talking.
I like it, but I'm fascinated by that. But I like that, man.
And then Joe Polito starts shouting at everyone like this, and I want to blow my brains out. I'll do the blowing of the brains out for.
Well, I hope somebody backs me up. Any of you fans out there, please, someone
rescue Tom right now.
Billy, I think is at least, unless I misunderstood what Billy was saying. I mean, I think Billy likes this movie a little bit.
Hey, listen, it's just one of those weird situations where I completely agree with the guy on my Skype screen who's smoking a cigar and drinking wine and the chicken with a human eyeball. They're absolutely right. It's boring. It's overwritten. It's overacted and everything. And I actively dislike those over-the-top cartoon military characters as they're played in this movie. And yet I can't help it. There's something about this movie that makes me giggle. Like I can't explain it. I really like it. And I guess I should have pinpointed what that is, but I just have a lot of affection for it.
Is it that Mad magazine thing the comic book thing that you're digging about it? Like, it's just very simple, and you're not gonna. I don't know I'm just trying to find.
I don't know.
This was more crazy and cracked versus mad. This was like Sylvester P. Smythe and Obnoxio the Clown instead of Alfred E. Newman.
You know what I think keeps me going is it's probably a deeper fear of mine than I had really thought of until we started talking about this. But it's that the military will develop as a power in this country. Like we've been pretty lucky in that we've never had coups. We've never had. We're pretty spoiled as citizens on the world stage. We've never had to deal with our own military turning on us.
Right.
It's kind of a fear of mine, actually.
It's funny that this would be the movie that brings that out, Billy, because I mean they all look like they just came out of the dressing room of
totally.
Yeah.
Totally.
I mean, they were just in the
were in a punk.
They came out of the
George Romero was like, "Hey, you want to be in a movie?"
Yeah, they were in the costume department at the the Halloween store.
Yeah, totally. Well, if anyone wants to make a much better
trauma movie.
Yeah, it is very trauma. I mean, this movie is very.
You know what? It's true. It did remind me of Trauma, the way that they presented these characters in a lot of ways.
I think the thing that keeps me going too is I actually really like the Dr. Frankenstein laboratory scenes. Like the guy who's nothing but a body with.
Yeah, that's cool. I did really dig that, man. That was creepy.
It's just the head that is being remote controlled.
I like that.
All that really kicked the Dr. Frankenstein cliches up a notch.
And what was that recording that he made? Something about like his mom or something. Like, we're listening to a recording of his. Does anybody remember this clearly?
I do. I didn't write it down though.
What was it? What was that exchange? He was talking to himself and he was saying, "Yes, mother," or something. "I'll be a good boy." I don't know, something really weird.
Yeah. Something weird followed by some little bit of exposition. I remember, and then they find the recording. I don't remember exactly what he was saying, but yeah, I mean, I thought he did a serviceable job. The doctor there,
Yeah, he's a mad scientist, but whatever. The scenes, any scene where there were people in the room with Bub and the scientist were really good because there was a deep tension there in that you've built these things up to be, bloodthirsty eating machines, and it was good. Those were good scenes. Those were really good. Those kind of kept me going, and the, whatever. But also, I think like having them as cattle, like I just thought that there were ideas there bouncing around. Like George Romero is nothing if not a font of ideas for how to take his zombie mythology and apply it to the way we behave in the real world, where it's like an internment camp,
Yeah.
So I don't know, it's fun. Tom, I can't justify it. Every criticism you can throw at this movie is absolutely correct.
It doesn't matter.
Yet I have affection for it. I don't know why.
Matter.
Really don't. And I also take exception with there being caves underneath Florida, which is sand and porous limestone. You can't have caves in Florida. You dig into the ocean.
It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's Day of the Dead. It's Joe Pilato. It's George Romero. It's Bub.
See, it's beautiful.
Here's another thing, Tom. This keeps coming up too, and I think this is a recurrent.
It's the soundtrack to Iron Eagle too.
Yeah, it's Iron Eagle too.
Louis Gossett Jr. was a real actor.
Yeah.
I mean, is there work?
Does anybody know? Does anybody know the kid's name who was in Iron Eagle?
You do.
I do. Yeah. It's
who is it?
Jason Gedrick.
Oh, Jesus! But the music in this film, I mean, oof.
Is it really bad? I don't even remember.
You like the music? You like Argento's music in Dawn of the Dead better than Day of the Dead, Joe?
It was I can't say I like it better. You know what? It didn't distract me as much as the music in this film.
Huh?
I mean, yeah. I don't know. I mean, they were both seemed to be very much of their time. I guess I just the 70s time style music irritates me less than the 80s music. I guess.
Can I just like cut through the George Romero is a clunky filmmaker. There's no getting around that. He is a really clunky filmmaker. He composes he's more of the 50s and 60s than of his age, even in the way he composes things and directs scenes and everything. It's very, very old fashioned, and there's no way around that. You either accept it, like, the shaggy dog, smells and climbs on you when you're trying to take a nap, or you don't. But that's a fact. He's just a clunky filmmaker,
Yeah.
Joe?
Yeah, I agree, but I mean, he's good at certain things, man. I mean, I think he's good at juxtaposition in a lot of ways. I think maybe that's exactly what it is, man. It's juxtaposing, like in Night of the Living Dead, it's juxtaposing what's going on inside as opposed to what's going on outside. And like, if you just follow that thread through the rest of the films, I think that's where his talent lies. And I think you can even bring it right into that scene of Bub, where one minute he's listening to Ode to Joy on the Walkman, and the next he's eating.
That's an awesome scene.
The guts. So he's good at some stuff. He's got a ton of passion.
He gets it done almost despite his, an interview that I was listening to earlier. It was from about 2 years ago. He said, I'm still learning as a filmmaker. Every film I make, I learn something,
Yeah.
and I really like that. He's infectious, I think, because of his energy and the fact that the guy just keeps making movies. He can't be held back, and despite himself, even,
You know what? I'm going to pull one of yours. I can get behind that to a degree, Billy. Because you know what? Because he's said in interviews, and I sense that he said it pretty much outright, that he's always loved the horror genre, so he doesn't regret being a horror filmmaker, but he was always wanted to make other films. So yeah, while he pushes ahead and makes these films, I think at least half of his motivation is mercenary, and commerce. I think that he knows he knows that Hollywood will give him money to make certain types of films, and those happen to be
he didn't,
zombie
but
pictures.
He didn't do a zombie picture for 20 years.
Right, really?
Yes, 85 was Day of the Dead, and the next one was Land of the Dead, which is 2000.
Oh wow. And what was he doing though? He was doing horror
after
pictures.
Day of the Dead, I think he did Monkey Shines.
He did Creep Show.
Creep Show was between dawn and day.
It was before Day.
You're right. The Dark Half.
The Dark Half with Timothy Hunt. He did a movie called Bruiser in 2000.
Yeah.
And,
what was that?
I've never seen.
Horror picture?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, of course.
They're all horror pictures, though. Yeah. So okay. So he's hung a frame of zombies and hung he's hung pictures of other monsters alongside on that frame. But that's one thing that I think should be brought up. He said that he wants to make other films, and he tried the romantic comedy, I guess, right after Night of the Living Dead.
There's that period of lost Romero films, quote unquote. I just watched one earlier today.
The Crazies?
No, it's the one about the witch. Season of the Witch.
Oh, I never saw that. Although I've seen some of the earlier, like Martin, I absolutely love. Joe, I think that's something you would like too. You should.
You know what? I got that, but I just didn't have the time to.
Billy, you should check
it.
that out too.
Okay, I'll check that one. He definitely found a vessel that he could work with and put his personal feelings into and his personal stamp on, and just worked with horror. But you gotta wonder, how much is he limited by his own filmmaking ability? Like Cronenberg has been able to break out of the mold a little bit,
Right.
A lot.
A lot, yeah. I'm not trying to trash George Romero.
I know. Dangerous crime. Listen, these are fun films, and you know what? Like I said before, man, if you write the Bible, it doesn't matter what the hell you write afterwards, and I feel like Night of the Living Dead is that, man. I really do. And
so you gave Night of the Living Dead 5 stars.
Yeah.
I think that's the first
I told you
5-star.
No, I gave
The Fly.
I gave The Fly. Yeah.
Wow.
There you go, man, and that's another myth to me. It's a myth that's been done before, but he just did it expertly.
But he's a good enough director, Joe, for you to give him a 5-star rating on one of his films.
That's a good enough movie.
Yeah.
There's a fine point on that.
Sometimes you really do just channel there's a collective channeling of forces that go to produce something, and almost the personalities and the egos involved aren't part of the equation,
Yeah.
And speaking of channeling, Max, I have a birthday coming up in later in the year in December, and I would love nothing more for you than to channel Captain Rhodes and send me a birthday video. You
You got it.
It's like 9 months in advance.
with
He's
the bullets
planning his
around,
birthday
like
present.
everything. I want the bullets strapped around the body.
You know, it's
I want you yelling into the camera about my birthday.
Happy birthday, Tom! I'll do it. You know, it's really too bad that Romero got his shit together and Day of the Dead is not public domain, because we could make it and put Tom in either that part or as the big cigar chomping guy, have him grow a beard, put him in fatigues. Tom would be so happy.
Perfect.
He would be so happy.
That's such a good idea, Max. We should make a film and just have Tom yelling the whole time.
Just yelling and being the obnoxious guy from Night, and just do different scenes of his favorite
smoking cigarettes,
annoying characters. He'd be so happy.
He should play Tom. You should play Morton Downey Jr. in the Morton Downey
Morton Downey Jr.
and just pointing your cigarette in people's faces.
That is so great.
And it all comes back to wrestling, because one time Morton Downey Jr. was at WrestleMania and blew smoke in Rowdy Roddy Piper's face.
You love that shit, don't you? What did Morton used to call the liberals? Liberal loonies and pablum pukers and all that?
Puking, yeah.
That's you.
Hey, Max, what is it about this film that you like so much less than Dawn? Do you think you could put your finger on it? I kind of put them in the same neighborhood.
That's crazy, but
yeah, I know.
Not crazy.
You know, it's something. I really love that scene, and I know I'm not, answering your question properly, but it kind of goes back to, like, I love the scene where the chick, like, come on down to paradise or whatever the hell they call it, and they've made a little world back there. The black dude has made, like, the backyard, and, like, there's the trees and there's the chairs and the drinks, and it's like that little slide that has that Dawn feel of, like, we're trying to create what we once had, but it's like in this weird tunnel, and you have to
buy
go
the trailers
to get through. I mean, I love that kind of stuff, but
it's just the setting. The setting wasn't. It didn't hold the fascination at all. Huh?
There was no menace. I felt menace in Dawn. I really did. As much as it's not that scary of a film, certainly felt much more menace in Dawn than I do in this one.
He probably could have. Probably could have helped the film with showing some more shots of the zombies outside the fences throughout the film, like as they as things maybe are happening underneath the bunker, like say like when the humans are getting like at each other's throats, he could have cut to the outside and showed the zombies a bit more. I think that could have added a little bit,
Yeah.
I was really getting excited. I know I said it already, but in the beginning in that scene, and just going back to setting,
you like it
when they're in that city, man, it's so great. And you know what they didn't do in Land was show that stuff in the daytime, and there was something about seeing that stuff in like a desolate city. Yeah, like a ghost town like that. I was really getting excited and in Land of the Dead, it was all dark the whole time, which was cool. But there was something about seeing that zombie just standing there. That was a great shot of that in the beginning of that zombie standing there, man. It does haunt me, honestly. Wow. Of that crazy zombie in the middle, and then they go, then the '80s, Iron Eagle kicks in. And
what are you talking about, Iron Eagle?
I don't know.
Why are you saying
the nearest available reference?
Yeah, nearest available reference to that
synthesizers.
80s. Yeah, there you go.
I do think they should have cut to the outside more. It actually reminded me last year I was in Puerto Rico and San Juan, and there's these areas where they built all of these like there was a speculation boom, and they built all these hotels and high rises and condos and shopping centers and everything, and no one ever showed up to populate it, right? And you walk through and it's a ghost town, and you're the only two people, and then across a courtyard you see two other people, and there's trash, and there's leaves blown across these empty hotel lobbies and stuff. And it just reminded me of that, because it's such a good, realistic, there's that sense of abandonment
I love
you
that.
don't get downstairs in the in the caves.
Yeah, and I love that feel that he it starts with dawn and it moves into day, and then of course in Land of the Dead, he really has a lot of money to work with, and he can show it a lot more. But you're right, I love that that whole feeling of abandonment, and nothing exists anymore. It's all left behind, and Romero does a great job at doing that, without a doubt. Guys, let's do some ratings for Day of the Dead. Who am I going to start with? Let's see. Billy Grimm.
I'm gonna. You'll probably hate me. I can give it 3 stars, man. I really enjoy it.
I'll take it, Billy. Listen, my friend, I'll take the 3.
All right, man.
I'm going to take it, and I'm gonna be happy with it.
You tuck it under your pillow tonight, and you sleep tight.
Maxiker. What are you giving Day of the Dead, Max?
2 stars for me. If I was basing it just on Bub, if Bub was his own movie, it would probably be 4 stars, but 3 for me. Very interesting, though, again, what the Reverend was talking about with Puerto Rico. Did you hear the way he pronounced it?
Yeah.
Puerto Rico.
Yes, well, you know, when I was down in Puerto King, but it's so funny because I was down in Bahia de Los Angeles, which is way down near Baja. Same story. It was this kind of third world town that was supposed to be this vacation destination, and it died. And I swam with whale sharks down there, which was great. So I'm with my cousin who knows the town, knows the locals. But I'm telling you, man, we were out at some resort. No one. We were it.
Great.
And we were sitting there going, when it all goes down, we have to come down here because you can literally just live there and no one's going to come after you. You can just settle in because that's all we did. Beautiful beaches and these gorgeous buildings, and they were desolate, empty, gone. Humanity was over down there. Kind of like that, I don't know, Terminator feel or whatever. I mean, I love when humanity builds a place to party and no one shows up to the party. Yes, it's crazy. That's beautiful. That's poetry, man.
Max, I love Terminator.
Yeah, those are great.
Mommy, what are you rating Day of the Dead?
Yeah, I'm right there with 3 stars on this one too.
Wow.
All
You're
the
lying.
reasons, yeah.
You want to give it 2 stars.
Oh no, man! I think it's good. It's got great makeup. I like Bub a lot. I like the Frankenstein dude. Even though the social commentary to me is a little bit ham-handed, I still think it's worthy of it's worth checking out. I think the social commentary is good, not great. So 3 stars.
Wow. All right, here I go. And this, of course, is based on my love for Joe Pilato.
I feel a drum roll in the background.
All of the little wrestling action figures in Tom's bedroom are turning and listening.
The original rubber 12-inch figures from the
mid-80s. Listen, I am in love with this film, and out of all 6, again, it's not the best, but Day of the Dead and Diary of the Dead are my 2 favorites out of all 6, and they're not the best, but there's just, there's something that really just pulls me into both of these films, and obviously in Day of the Dead, it has a lot to do with Captain Rhodes. But you guys are so right on with the Howard Sherman performance. I think is extraordinary, and the Dr. Logan character. As opposed to what you guys are thinking. I mean, I love when they're sitting around and talking, and about what's going on, and I get really drawn into that, and I think that's why I like a lot of boring movies too. I don't know. There's something about slow moving, boring movies that I'm drawn to. But I am going to give Day of the Dead 4 stars. Guys,
right on.
That is going to conclude our classic review tonight of George A. Romero's first 3 Dead films. Gentlemen, give yourself a round of applause. It was quite a journey. And it seems to me that it just took weeks to accomplish.
Red State was 9 years ago.
I can't even remember that movie. I was on Bud Light and coconut vodka. That's 1,000 years ago.
But I seriously cannot thank the 3 of you guys for doing